Hello! Today I am drawing albums as character designs. I picked 3 albums. Let's just get right into it then. So for the first album I did was Montgomery Ricky by Ricky Montgomery. I picked this one. I don't know, the vibes were there. I could see a character coming. There's also just a character on the album cover already. But it's just the head, so I've expanded on it a little bit. But if you don't know who this is or what the album is, you might know the song Line Without a Hook or Mr. Loverman. They are very popular and they both were trending on TikTok at some point. So yeah, banger songs though. That's how I found out about him, was Line Without a Hook. For the start of his character design, I mean, the initial inspiration was the album cover with the I think it's just him, but there's like a third eye on his forehead, and I kept that in. Obviously, that'd be weird to take that away. The whole album, to me, gives very like academia vibes. So for the clothes, I went with a sort of dark academia type thing. I don't know, though it was the vibes. He mentions university once, but in past tense, so this character goes to university in my head anyways. So I think it would just be like a little university love story that ends with him no longer being in university. I don't know why I've created whole backstories for these characters based on the albums, but that's what I did. It helps me make the character, you know? That's what I went with. So I went with some dark academia vibes, and because he has the third eye on his head, I thought maybe it's like a sort of urban fantasy type, like university full of different like special creatures or something, like mythical creatures, like maybe there's some vampires in there, and then he's just got this third eye on his head. I'm not really sure what his, like, if he's got powers or what, but yeah, that's sort of the vibe in my head of the universe he would live in. I sort of decided that each character, the album is kind of like their backstory. I wanted to not just design the character based on the vibes of the music and the album cover, but also like the lyrics and the stories being told in the album, which I think this album does such a good job with telling like a complete story, like beginning to end. The like order of songs on the album are like, it's so good. It's like such a journey to go through from the beginning to end in this album. It's very neat. I don't know a whole lot about music or like how to order an album, but I feel like this one was pretty good. For like the pose and everything, based on the album and the lyrics, he's like, I made him like a shy, sort of reserved kind of guy. So I went with like a pose where he's kind of looking down and he's got his hands in his pockets, which is a very like shy person pose. As you can tell, I know a lot about posing. I'm a really talented artist who knows what they're talking about. But yeah, and then for coloring, I went with like cool tones, not just because the album cover is just like black and white, but because there's there's a song called Snow, a song called December, so it's very wintry. I didn't give him a super winter outfit, but I think there's a song called California, so maybe he lives in California. I don't know. But I gave him a jacket. I mean, as a Canadian, that's not a winter outfit to me, but it's wintry in colors. I went with like very cool browns and blues. I kind of wish I made the pants a darker black to like mimic the album cover colors, but it's fine. It's too late now to fix it. For the pattern on the vest, I very last minute switched it was like with dots, and I switched the dots into hearts. I did like a full heart and then a broken heart, switching between them, you know, the heart break and the like crushes, and it's like it's a romance story, you know. That's kind of the vibe. Yeah, that was sort of my thought processes with the design for the character. Yeah, let me know if you have any ideas as to why the character might have the third eye, like what it would mean. I'm sure it probably represents something on the album, and I'm just not smart enough to figure it out. And then I decided I would tell you my favorite songs or like the highlights of the album for me, in case you don't know the album and you're kind of interested in listening to it without actually listening to the whole album. I think some of my favorite tracks from this album are Line Without a Hook, My Heart is Buried in Venice, Get Used to It, and Snow. So if you want to check those out. And moving on to the next character, based on Folklore by Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. I've been a huge fan of Taylor since I was like 7 or 8. I was a small child and jamming out to teardrops on my guitar, you know what I'm saying? Folklore is the album she wrote that's like fictional for the most part. There's definitely songs that are autobiographical, but a lot of them are just stories and characters she made up, which is why I picked this album, because I know a lot about Taylor Swift, so it would be hard to come up with a character when all I can picture is Taylor. It would have been a struggle with any other album. I could have done Evermore, but I picked Folklore because the album cover has like, it's like a forest without a person. I mean, she's like very distant, so I could sort of make up a character. And I've decided that this character is like an author, and she's written these stories, because all the stories don't feel very connected to me. They're all like separate stories, except for the trilogy, of course. If you don't know, there's like a trilogy within the album with these characters, Betty, August, and James. So this is the author of that story and the other stories in the album, and she's like a little, she lives in the woods, cottagecore, girly. That's sort of the vibes I wanted. I gave her like a book that she's holding and like a pencil, like she's been writing. She just sits in the woods and she writes stories. I could have just made her a songwriter, but I don't want the character to be Taylor Swift. I did give her very Taylor hair though, but I gave her a different face. I didn't try to draw Taylor's face, which I struggled with the face, by the way, so much. Oh my god, I kept redrawing it. I also gave her a cardigan because of the song Cardigan. Just felt right, you know? Yeah, in terms of coloring, I mean, the whole album cover is purely black and white, no color. So I went with more like muted grayish colors, which doesn't really fit the vibe of cottagecore. So I thought maybe because of the very muted colors, maybe this character is like a ghost and she like haunts a cabin, and then she hears stories and tells this, like writes the stories in her ghost book journal or something of the people that have like stayed at this cabin. I don't know. I don't know. She doesn't need a backstory, but I sure gave her one. So yeah, also there's a song on the album, My Tears Ricochet, which is about a metaphorical death. But in this instance, it's canon, she died. That song's about her. In terms of song highlights, picking highlights for this was really difficult. I love this album. I mean, I loved the other album too, but I'm a Taylor Swift stan. I'm a Swiftie. So yeah, it was really hard to pick, but I went with Cardigan, Mirror Ball, 7, and August. But yeah. Those are the song highlights. If you somehow have never listened to this album, it's a banger. It's so lyrically beautiful and well written, as always. The next album, we're sort of deviating from that genre of music. I don't know, I feel like the Montgomery, Ricky, and Folklore have kind of similar vibes. Not really, but like I feel like people who like one album would like the other. This one is a bit different. It's more like alternative, but there's definitely a handful of songs that fit the vibes of the other albums. But yeah, this is In Case I Make It by Will Wood, who I think is a very underrated artist. If you don't know, these songs aren't on this album, but if you know the song I Me Myself or Second Sight Seer, and then one of the songs on this album is Main Character. Those are some of his like big songs that were also very trendy on TikTok. And this album doesn't have a character on the album cover, so there's more for me to use from out of my imagination, you know? The character design I went with was a rat man. I know I just said I liked him, but I made him a rat man because, I mean, the album cover is a wheel of cheese. It's a moon cheese. And then the first song is from the perspective of a rat. And there's a lot of references throughout the album about not feeling human enough. So he is a rat man. And I gave him some summer clothes because a lot of the songs reference summer or like summery things. It's just got a summer vibe to me. So I gave him some like shorts and like a t-shirt. He has very like fancy man vibes, but also not at the same time. So I gave him like a little colored shirt, but it's a t-shirt and like a tie and some shorts, but tried to make it look a little more alternative to fit like the style of music. So yeah, that's what I went with the outfit. For the pose, I was trying to make him do like a bow, because he's mentioned that this might be his last album. I'm not sure. I feel like I remember seeing somewhere that he was retiring from music, but I could be wrong about that. But he just mentioned wanting to retire in one of the songs, so I was trying to do like a final bow pose. But it just kind of looks like he's vaguely gesturing to the side. I did my best. I don't know. I kept readjusting the pose over and over because I wasn't satisfied with any of it. So it is what it is. It turned out the way it turned out. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the colors, I went with what the album cover has. I did like the shirt with the pattern that the cheese is, or like the moon. I did like a moon pattern or like shading. It's very subtle. And then with the tie, I put like, at first I had stripes and then I switched it out because I realized I didn't incorporate any stars, which I felt like I should because they're all over the album cover. So I put the little stars that's on the album cover on his tie. I'm kind of happy with how the outfit looked, but the pose I'm a little iffy on. Yeah, I kept liquefying this to get the bow to look more bowish. So excuse if anything looks a little wonky from the liquefy. I was doing my best. I just didn't want to redraw the whole thing again. So it's a little wonky. I'm pretty sure he has 3 feet. I'm gonna fix that before I post the video and post the pictures online, but in the speed paint I'm pretty sure it ends with him having 3 feet. We're gonna ignore it. I didn't notice. Yeah, some of my song highlights from this. I picked ones that fit the vibes of the other two in case you click this video because you like the music of the other 2 albums, and this one's a little bit different, but if you want some similar vibes and start to dip your toes into some more alternative music. I don't really know the genres. I think it's alternative music. But some songs with similar vibes to Folklore and Montgomery are Falling Up. The main character, not really, but it's a banger, so I recommend it. And then Against the Kitchen Floor and White Noise. Those are all very good songs. A lot of his music is kind of satirical and comedic, but also not. Yeah, these are the characters based on albums I have designed today. I kind of want to do this again, but with specific songs. Let me know if you would want me to do that and what songs you would want me to do that with. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry the commentary was a bit wonky. In my head, this was going to be a really good and in-depth video analyzing the music, and it's just not that. If you want, you can follow me on Spotify as well. I make monthly playlists, so if you like these albums, they are frequented on these playlists. So I'll link that in the description. Yeah, that's the end of the video. I'm rambling. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.